Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa in the Rosa Stringworks Workshop. Today is Friday the 25th, I think. I should just stay away from saying dates. But it's looking like we got people on here already. I just saw Bill Webb, my buddy, pop up. He's been here several times. How you doing, Bill? Got a variety for you today, and I think you'll enjoy today's program. So I hope you'll tune in. And if not live, maybe you'll watch it later today. Not quite sure where I want to get started. I do have my typical outline, and I guess I'll just start at the top of that. By the way, it's cold here again. Back down in the 30s. I think we're up to 33 viewers already. Well, that's not too bad. Ron, my buddy that makes the deer antler saddles, he's doing better, but he's still on oxygen. Yeah, there you go. He's improving. He showed up at our live, band practice at the Dickey's Barbecue this past Tuesday evening at Dickey's Barbecue in Rolla, Missouri. Every Tuesday evening at about 6:30, we're trying to do a live. It's really just kind of a band practice, just to keep our skills going. Is really what it amounts to. It's not much of a performance or anything. There's 10 or 12 of our friends usually follow us and show up there, and maybe a little more. We had 14 or 15 this time, and hopefully we'll get a few more there each Tuesday. And if you're in the area on a Tuesday evening, please stop in. Let's see. Mountain View, Arkansas is coming up June 9th through the 12th. That's where we all go down there. A lot of the band members go down there, and quite a few other jammers from around in the area here go down to Mountain View, Arkansas on June 9th through the 12th. And we just find places to just sit around and jam and pick down there in Arkansas. The town kind of caters to that, so hopefully you can come down and join in on it. If you are going to join in this time, when we get closer to that, maybe a week or so away, or maybe a little, in that time frame anyway, send me an email, rosastringworks@gmail.com, and then I'll send you my number that you can text me on. And when I'll give you that text number, and that way when we're down there, you can find me, because otherwise you won't be able to find us. I always used to say we're always on the front porch of the Wildflower Bed and Breakfast, or we're under the pavilions. But these guys now, my band has all taken to camping, so they go down to this campground, which is just down the hill from there, not too far. So anyway, we're usually at one of those three places, and I try to make it up to the pavilions and in that area some, because that's where the majority of the townspeople show up, for the live audience type thing. Anyway, so that is what it is. Morel mushroom hunting time is quickly approaching. I think the earliest I've ever found any was March 28th. Today's the 25th, so I'm already starting to kind of look around a little bit. I haven't looked much, but I haven't found anything yet. I've got, the Martins, I did all that work for that Martin house, and they have not returned as yet either. I don't really expect them to be here by the end of March. I kind of think I'll see them in April, possibly even May. They didn't come till really late last year, like June. But generally, they'll come back earlier than the first year. So I'm expecting hopefully to see them in April, possibly May. Anyway, let's see here. I've got a couple of just miscellaneous pictures that I wanted to show you. Here's some wildlife on the farm. You can see there we've got a couple of bobcats, and the one on the left of the screen there facing away is, you can tell is a pretty good sized cat. it's possible it's the same cat that's coming back facing this way. It's possible. We do have a lot of bobcats here. Those were taken on different days. That was not the same night or anything. But you can see them. A lot of people never see bobcats, but we do see them quite often here. In fact, one story, kind of a cute story. We were sitting in our, I was sitting in my easy chair in the back of the house, and we've got windows aligning the whole back of the house. And I was looking out in the yard, and I see this rabbit come off the hill kind of quick and stop out there in the middle of the yard and just kind of hunker up like this. About that time, a big old bobcat jumps up on top of the propane tank. You know what those big propane tanks look like. And anyways, you know, that great big long propane tank, and he jumps up on top of there, and he's sitting up there perched, and he's looking at that rabbit, you know. He didn't get it. He didn't get the rabbit, but anyway. And here's another picture of some wildlife here on the farm. Now, I don't believe I've shown the wild turkeys before, but they're underneath my feeder there. And this is I moved my feeder to a different location up in the woods, and you can see the wild turkeys are enjoying it there. And turkey season's coming up real soon. So I'll have to remove my feeder if I want to hunt them. I really not sure if I'm going to hunt turkey this year anyway, but I just like to feed them, you know, feed the wildlife and stuff, and the turkeys sure do enjoy the corn. And so there you go. Let's see. Now I have a question, and you can help me. You know, most of this is about me throwing stuff out to you guys, hopefully pointers and tips and tricks and how I work on instruments, etc. But now I'm going to ask somebody out there that might have expertise on this. You never know what you're going to see here. Boy, the color on the screen looks totally different than the color here to my eyes. I can tell it's green, but that looks kind of like a, I don't know, if I was guessing, not quite a forest green, but a different color green than this. This is kind of like leprechaun green here in my hand when I'm looking at it here in my hand. Anyway, doesn't really matter. This is a pump handle, of course. I'm sure we all recognize what it is. And I have a gravity feed, I think it's a 300-gallon gravity feed tank. And I just had them nearly fill it up. Lucky for me, I had them fill it up just before the prices jumped up, even though it was still $1,000 to have it filled up, or just $3 or $4 short of that. It was like, you know, $996 or something. Anyway, I thought, you know, it's got a pump handle on it already, but it's kind of one of those dumb handles that doesn't shut off automatically. Plus, it doesn't have this lock on it where you can hold the handle open. So sometimes on that handle, I'll pry something in there like the cap off of the gas tank, and I'll stick it in there to hold the handle open, and then I'll walk away. And at least twice over the last 20 years, I've forgotten, and then I come back and I see gas squirting out and I'm wasting it. It's not gas, it's diesel, sorry. Anyway, I'm wasting fuel, and I didn't want to have that ever happen again. So I thought, well, I'll spend the money, get one of these automatic shut-off handles, right? Well, you remember my comment about saying I can't even get gravity to work? Well, I'm not exaggerating. I really can't get gravity to work sometimes, and this is one of those times. I put this handle on that tank. Now keep in mind, it's just gravity fed, right? Nothing comes out. Squeeze the handle. I mean, when I say nothing comes out, it trickles out. I mean, like, seriously trickles out. Like, you know, eyedropper full at a time, or a little bit more than that. But not much is coming out. Not as much as this great big hole, you know, it's not even a quarter full coming out. And I put it straight down to the ground, even, you know, straight like this going into a pan, you know, and tried to make it, and it won't come out. I mean, like, it's just a pump handle. It should, I put the old pump handle back on it, no problem, just comes right out, no problem. Does anyone out there have expertise in these auto shut-off pump handles and know why that's happening? Don't guess, because I can guess. If you know, tell me why that's happening. You know, I've looked at it and I don't see a reason. There's no plugs, there's nothing, you know, it should just work. Gravity should work. And if you were doing it, it would work. But gravity doesn't work for me about half the time. So there, if you do know, actually send me an email would even be better, because these texts go away at the end of this call or at the end of this video, and so I won't see it if you just put it in here. So send me an email, rosastringworks@gmail.com, if you know the answer to that, because I have no clue why that's not working. And I kind of tried to Google it, and I couldn't find anything. You know, nobody ever has the problem I have. Usually when I can't figure it out, it's a pretty unique problem. Anyway, there you go. So there's your chance to pay back right there. Shop projects update. Well, let's see here. Maybe, should I do that first? Yeah, I will. I'll do a shop projects update first. Well, the big acoustic bass is still together, as you can see. I have not done any more on it because I'm still waiting on the magnets. So my next thing on this, of course, will be to, you know, cleat it really well, because it needs a lot of cleating. Like I said, cleat till your eyes fall out. That's pretty much what's going to happen here. Yeah, and some people said put a mesh in there, and you know, I guess that's not a bad idea. I'm not opposed to that, and it might be just as strong to do that. I'm not really sure if it would be as strong. I don't know. I'll think on that. It'd be a lot faster, that's for sure. Might actually be stronger, who knows. The old Gibson with the finish problem, you know, that all the little fisheye holes, whatever you want to call them. I don't even think I'm calling that fisheye. To me, fisheye is, yeah, I don't know. I guess you can call it that. But to me, every single time in my life I've ever sprayed lacquer on wood, it always runs away from any defect. I don't care what. And I know some of those times there was no silicone or anything like that involved. That's what people said. It's got silicone. Well, maybe it does. I'm not saying it doesn't. But all of my life, every single time I've ever sprayed lacquer in my whole life on wood, it always goes away from the grain holes. So that's what it's doing, and I don't know if I call that fisheye, you know, but anyway, that one's still driving me absolutely bonkers crazy, because it just won't cooperate. And so I'm going to have to resand it all again. And of course, you know, the Peanut Gallery says you have to sand it all the way back off to flat. It will not fill holes. Well, yeah, I kind of understand that. But do you also understand that it's wood and it's been stained, and it's also been, you know, sunburst stained? And if you sand it all the way down, it's going to, yeah, forget it. Anyway, it's just not that simple. You can't just sand it down perfectly flat. So that's a real pain. That thing is driving me bonkers. You can see here, we've got something new. This is a current project though, but this is that big old expensive Calton case. And man, those things are heavy. So my new world's finest mandolin ever built by a human is going to be well protected in a Calton case. Yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, you know, for the money, I mean, this case cost over $1,000. I ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, you can look it up. Is it worth $1,000? I don't know, maybe. I'm sure Calton would say so. it's a nice case. It's very heavy, very well made and all that. Super well made. Lots of bumpers on it, like where you would possibly bump it going through doors and things. So it's really well made that way. I'm holding it shut here because I've got it unlocked. The inside, I guess this is the gray and I got the blue. And basically, my wife picked this out, so I went with gray and blue because that's kind of what she picked out. And it looks nice. The mandolin, this extra body point, it fits in there just fine. I was worried about that because I knew this was a really fitted, tight case. But fortunately, right there where this extra point is, it's soft, and so it folds to it. And the only thing, there are big problems in the world right now, so I'm not complaining about this because this seems too trivial to complain about. But on a $1,000 case, you still feel a little disappointed when something's not perfect. And this door right here, as you can see, it kind of stays about halfway. It doesn't go all the way down, and it just kind of bothers me. But it's not a big deal, I'm not gonna call Calton or complain or anything. It's just the way it is. But you would think on a $1,000 case it would probably be perfect. But it is a really nice case, and it does fit the mandolin really well, really snug. So I'm pretty happy I got it. It is very heavy. I didn't weigh it, but I bet this case by itself is, I don't know, 15 pounds. I'm not really sure. It's pretty heavy. So in keeping with the projects update here, this mandolin now, and don't get confused. How did he get there far? Well, you can see here that I do actually have all the trim around it now, all the purfling. Now this is the, what it is on the inside, it's walnut, Osage orange, walnut. So there's 3 layers of that on the inside. And then there is abalone shell. And you can see how the abalone shell comes to a point right over here. And what I'm going to do is on this round button, that'll be totally covered with abalone shell eventually. And then the binding goes around the outside edge of all of that yet. So I know this camera doesn't have the most detail, so I'll try to hold it real still there for a second so you can see it pretty good. And you can see how the point there came out. And then again, here's the back. I haven't got the binding. That's not focusing. Why is that not focusing? Maybe it's seeing my eyes? I don't know. There it is. Yeah, I guess that's what it was. It was seeing my eyes. Anyway, there you go. Maybe I'll do that one more time because maybe it wasn't focusing before on that too. Anyway, these just to give you some idea what this abalone shell is. I know everybody gets on me. Abalone, abalone, abalone. I don't care what you call it. It really doesn't matter to me. I know they get all uptight about it. Abalone. It's abalone. You need to know how to say it. Okay, I just said it. Anyway, just this little piece from right here around here, I just thought I'd let you know there's 16 pieces of abalone shell in there. And that's just around this little circle right here. So you can imagine how many pieces are all the way around this body. And each one of those little pieces, they're like little tiny bricks. And you have to bevel the ends of them, and it is a time-consuming pain in the neck. But I got her finished yesterday. So that part's done. Now I got to move on to trying to bend that curly maple binding. I'm not too smart. Curly maple binding is crazy hard to bend. and it's crazy hard to bend around something like that. Oh my gosh, you know. I'm just hoping I can get it done. I'm not even sure I can. I mean, I'm just hoping right now. I thought I'd show you also, you know, here's a piece of that abalone shell. Get my eyes out of there where it'll focus on that again. Hopefully it focuses on that. And anyway, that abalone shell is tiny. And what I do is I take and cut it into even much smaller pieces like this. This is the size that I'm actually working with. So it's just tiny. And like I said, then you got to file the ends of that and make it meet. Otherwise, you got these big gaps on the ends and it looks horrible. So there you go. And I think that's it on that. Let me see what else. I think that's it on shop projects. Okay, let's we're gonna look at these two mandolins that I've built in the past here. And they're kind of similar to this, the reason I'm showing these two. And then after that, we'll do questions and answers. If anybody's got questions, be sure you start it with question marks. Excuse me. Be sure to put at least 2 or 3 question marks in the front of your question. That way I can find it much faster. But here's the first picture. We'll move into that. This mandolin is owned by Kitty Smazzle, I believe. Smasal, I think is the way you spell her last name. And she's up in Minnesota, I believe. This was my daily player for a number of years. I really liked that mandolin. It was a nice mandolin. And you can kind of see that it has all that fancy trim around the body on it as well. And it had the Mandolin tailpiece on it. This one was built back quite a ways. I mean, it's like, I think number 14 on the mandolin, you know, on my mandolin list. So that's what it looked like. And you know, you can see there, if you look up around the curl there on that scroll, how I put the whole scroll part there covered in abalone shell. And I'll do that again on this mandolin. So here's the next mandolin, and you've seen this one many times before on the channel. It's the Carmine D'Amico mandolin, and it is a 10-string mandolin. And this one was, well, of course, it was owned by Carmine D'Amico, and he played it on a number of recordings with a lot of famous people, actually. And it was on display at the National Guitar Museum up in New York for quite a while. The actual curator of the museum called me and told me he had never seen such a beautiful instrument. He said it was just gorgeous. And they had it in their center showcase for a while. And so that's the name of that tune. So my point in showing you those was that this isn't my first rodeo on actually doing all of that inlay. In fact, there's a third one. I should have shown it too, and it went to Japan. I'll tell you the funny story on this. Now, you keep in mind, this was just after the internet got going. I mean, like, the internet was in its infancy. And so it wasn't, you know, if you remember back then and remember what it was like, it was barely usable. You know what I mean? And anyway, my phone rang one night. Apparently this guy saw this on the internet, you know, and I'm not making fun of Japanese people, you understand. Please don't hear me when I say that. I'm just trying to imitate what happened, because, you know, I was caught off guard by surprise. And I hear, mandolin. I mean, that's kind of the way it came across, you know, and I'm like, man, you're calling about a mandolin? You know, because I couldn't understand anything. And I heard mandolin, you know, that was the only thing I understood. And he says, yes. And he could answer yes and no. You know, he could apparently understand English, but he apparently couldn't really speak it very well. So anyway, you know, long story short, we got through the conversation, and I asked him, I said, you're wanting to buy one of my mandolins? Yeah, yes. And then I said, is it the mandolin you saw online here? And he goes, yes. So, and then, long story short, he wire transfers me the money. I ship him the mandolin, And I don't remember how it came about, if it was an email or what. I think I sent him an email that said something to the effect of, are you happy with the mandolin? Is everything okay? And his reply back in, of course, broken English, which at least he can speak English to some degree. I can't speak Japanese at all. So, I mean, I'm not putting him down at all. But his answer I thought was really cute. He says, yes, this is what I like. So that's the last I heard from him. And then, the more to that story was just literally a few days after that, they had that huge earthquake. And he was right there, more or less, in the epicenter of it. Shibukawa City, I think, is the name of his town where he was. Shibukawa City, I think. I don't know. I'm probably butchering that big time. But anyway, so I guess that mandolin went through an earthquake. Let's see here. I think that's it. I'm ready to look at some questions. So let me scroll up here and see where the questions started, if I can find that point. Looks like Zappa 1 PNT. Jerry, is the pump handle maybe made for pressure feed? Yeah, that was my thought. I assume that maybe it has to have a pressure behind it. Honestly, that was my only thought. So I was hoping that somebody that knows about those things could say, yeah, you have to have pressure or it is not going to work. But it doesn't seem like that should be the case. I mean, you pull the stupid handle and you would think it would run out, I mean, if it trickles out, why doesn't it pour out, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too simplistic. It just seems like it should work to me. Okay, well, all right, here's 2 more brain teasers for you. Now, you don't have to tell me why, because I already know why. But it still doesn't make common sense. Now, I've said this one before. The one is, the heat rises. Everybody knows heat rises. If it didn't rise, you couldn't ride in a hot air balloon, right? And you can go, 12,000 feet easy, maybe 20,000 feet easy in a hot air balloon. Okay? So why is it cold on top of mountains? I mean, it just doesn't make common sense. All right, here's another one for you, though. I've said that one before, but here's the other one that I haven't said before, I don't think. And again, I know the reason for it. I absolutely know the scientific explanation. But it still doesn't make common sense. And that is, what do you do when you got static in your clothes and stuff? I keep this handy, static guard, right? You spray something like that on it. This is not sponsored, by the way. So you spray something like that on it, because I am the king of static, and Caleb will know that. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. You'll see a blue flame shoot out that far from the end of my finger. I mean, I am the king of static. That's why I keep this handy. So, but what else can you do if you don't have something like this? Well, you can take water, right? And you can wipe down or just anything and dampen it, and instantly the static is gone, right? So why does static build up in rain clouds where it's wet? It's, common sense. Pump handle. It just, same kind of thing to me. Just doesn't make sense. Okay, fine. I know you guys are not impressed, but it's still, those are the things I think about. That's why I'm so screwed up. Anyway. Lloyd DeSalt Sr. I'll bet the nozzle requires pressure to operate. Yeah, that's my bet also. So, Caleb, you going to do color on that mandolin before you attach wood binding? Thank you for the reminder, Caleb. Yeah, actually, I already did think about that in the last couple of days. Doesn't mean I'll do it by because I get sidetracked and then I'll forget about it and then I'll put the binding on it and then go, oh dang, I was gonna color that. That could still happen, but I'm planning to color it, yes. But thanks for the reminder, Caleb. He knows how I do things. I get so many interruptions. I know it looks to you like it's all organized and it just comes one thing after another. It doesn't work that way here in real life, trust me. I mean, like 5 minutes I'm doing this, 10 minutes I'm over there, 15 minutes I'm over there. I'm back here for 5 minutes. You know, that's the way it goes. Okay. Charlie Bryson. Any more Friday night jams on the tube? Yeah, we're going to try to get back into that now that we're kind of getting back together. We're going to try to do some more jamming and stuff. I don't know that they'll necessarily be Friday nights, but we'll try to do some. Let's see here. Do we have any more questions or are we done already? Zappa has one more. It says, it is cold on the mountaintops because the atmosphere... I told you not to tell me because I already know. Yeah. But still, you know, I know that. I know the scientific reason and all that, but it still doesn't make common sense. I mean, you can't logically... I'm talking, you know, normally I can solve dang near any problem on this universe with just common sense. You can't solve that one with common sense, and you can't solve the rain thing with common sense either. It just doesn't make common sense because there shouldn't be any static buildup in the clouds when it's all wet like that. Okay, I know I'm boring you to tears. Nobody's got any questions, so I guess we're done. I do thank you for joining me today, and I'll try yet maybe to get out another little vlog for today, but I'm not sure what it'll be about or how much we're going to get there. Looks like somebody's squeezing a question in here at the last second. Let's just see if it's one we can answer. Would Engelmann spruce with cherry back and sides be good for my first guitar build? Yeah, it would be fine. Spruce of almost any particular spruce, as long as it's quarter sawn, and your cherry is a nice wood. I haven't ever really built an instrument out of cherry, and I'm trying to remember if I've even really heard a full instrument built out of cherry. I don't recall it, honestly. But I would assume that cherry would make a decent instrument, just because of the properties of it. The only negative you might have with cherry, and it's only because I've never done it, and that is bend it. Boy, the questions are rolling up the screen now. All I can do is threaten you. I mean, I just see them everywhere. But yeah, the truth of it, Brian, is I just don't know about the cherry as far as bending, so you might run into issues there because I've never really bent cherry. Yeah, I really haven't. Not that I can remember, anyway. Datahar2 says, why is the intonation off at frets 1 and 3, but O up the neck? Okay, up the neck. He's got O up the heck. So there's a little problem there. But anyway, yeah. Well, I can't answer that. It sounds suspicious to me, like there's some other issue going on. So that's my answer, because I just don't know without seeing it. But I have my doubts about the full part of that. I mean, like there's something else going on there, Yeah. I don't know how to answer that one for sure. Why are you so down on maple for guitar backs and sides? I don't know that I'm down on it, because I have heard some good ones. I guess it's more of a consistency thing. For the most part, I have not heard, I would say, percentage of good to percentage of just kind of okay, or like the percentage of good would be maybe the 20%, and the percentage of just okay backs and sides made with maple would be about 80%. And when I say okay, I mean, it doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, they're just kind of like okay, nothing special. The 20% have been pretty good, so it's not like I'm down on them. It's just not, it wouldn't be my first choice, is all. Chip wood. How often, if ever, do you change the size of your bandsaw blade? How often, if ever, do you change the size of your bandsaw blade? Well, I don't do very much changing on that. I'll change it when I have to resaw. If I have to resaw, I try to put in the larger teeth and the wider blade. But most of the time, I keep a 3/8 blade in my main saw, and I keep a 1/4-inch blade in my littler. Or I call it little. It's the same size saw, but I keep a 1/4-inch blade in the old saw. I don't do much with the 1/4-inch, to be truthful. Oh, we just got a super chat from John C. Thank you very, very, very much. I really do appreciate that. And John looks like he has a question too. I'll get to your question here, but I want to just take them in order. I apologize in advance is the name of the username here. It says, do you know when the carriage house was built? It's such a cool old building. Yeah, we call it the carriage house. It was built back in the 30s. Actually, my log cabin inside my house was built back in the 30s also. He built the carriage house, and if you go up in the upstairs of the carriage house, it is just like a little, I wouldn't quite call it an apartment, but it's just a little bedroom. You know, it's just a single room, and it's actually, you could sleep in it now. It's fairly decent. It's fairly clean and everything. But that's where he stayed when he built the big log cabin. That's my house now surrounds. they just kept adding on, and it's a pretty big, as log cabins go, it's a pretty big log cabin inside the house. And then they just kept adding on and adding on and adding on and adding on and adding on. It's like that old Johnny Cash song, it's a 49, 50, 51, 52, 50, talking about his Cadillac because he stole all the parts over the years. Anyway, that's kind of the way my house is. Let's see. Lon says, Jerry, could you do a day in the life of Jerry and not the luthier part? Yeah. Well, yeah, I might do that. Now that I'm doing these daily vlog things, I may, at least give you some excerpts of some of that. Though, quite honestly, most of it is around this shop, really, is a whole lot of it. Because I try to treat this just like a real job, and I try to spend a lot of time in here, but honestly, with the hands and everything, and now that Caleb's flown the nest here and all that, I really am trying to slow all this down, and so I'm not spending as much time in here. But for the most part, this is what consumes most of my time. So we might get to that, Lon. Thank you. Now, John C. is the one that sent the super chat, and he's got a question here. Do you loosen the strings on mandolin that you aren't going to play, say, for a month? I'm more concerned about a guitar, and assume it's similar. Yeah, John, I think that's a good idea. I don't see any harm in loosening the strings on any instrument that's not going to be played for a while. There's no harm in it, and it can only be a positive thing in my mind to loosen the strings a little bit. I would say take them down a quarter pitch or something. It would probably be good enough. That'll take a lot of the stress out of the neck, and stress out of the bridge and all that. So I think it's a good idea. Jeff Puris, is the best mandolin of all time going to be in a museum so we can all see it? Well, I don't know about that, Jeff. I doubt it, because I'm planning to play it. Unless I get a crazy, ridiculous offer for it. And when I say crazy, ridiculous, it's going to take a big offer. I'm not, I'm building this for me, and I'm planning to keep it for me, and planning to hand it down in the family. But if somebody come up and gave me an offer, that was significant, and I mean really significant, I would probably sell it. But who knows? Maybe nobody's going to want it. We haven't heard it yet. So I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch. I'm just giving you the facts that I know at the moment. Because it may be that I'll take a much less offer after I get it strung up, you know. I might not have to have such a big offer. I'm just kidding. I hope I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's see here. Trying to not let this thing scroll so fast, and it just went way up the screen. Okay. Paul Akers says, "Is cedar for the top a lot softer than other woods?" Yeah, Western cedar is, well, it's very similar to spruce, but I think the soft part in between the grain lines is softer than spruce from my working with it and from what I remember reading years ago. And honestly, I haven't kept up on all that stuff, but I believe that cedar is softer in between the grain lines than spruce is. And that's probably why it gives you, in my opinion, a slightly more mellow tone. I also think redwood's very good, and of course it's softer yet, I think. At least that's my opinion. Zappa says he thinks maybe the nut action is high if the frets 1 through 3 are the problem. And I say possibly that could affect it some. You know, that probably is a decent explanation. But I still suspect there's more to it. I really do. And I'd like to see that one up close. Generally, when I hear those kinds of things that just don't sound like they could happen, there's a reason for it. And I don't know what the reason is, but I'd bet there's a reason. And it could be partly, maybe it's 2 or 3 things, you know. Maybe it is the nut is partly to blame. Could very well be. Francis McGinnis, Jerry, I'm trying to build a mandolin, got it all glued up and ready to put fretboard on, and I noticed the neck is 1 inch at the nut. Is there anything I can do to save it? So it's only 1 inch wide, you're saying? Well, you know, it's a little narrow, but I don't know. I don't know if you can, you know, I don't know what kind of binding you're putting on it, but if your binding is sturdy enough, you could perhaps put a slightly wider binding on it and then taper your binding into your neck. It might look a little bit weird, but if you taper it, you know, gradual as possible, it probably wouldn't be that terribly noticeable. And then you let your strings come out over your binding just slightly. Now, it probably wouldn't work very well with plastic binding, although it might, as long as your frets extend out over it, it'd probably be okay. With wood binding, I think you could get away with that for sure. But I, you know, that's about all I got right at the moment without seeing it. How do I know that'll work? I've done stuff similar to that over the years for one reason or another, you know, and I know you can do that kind of thing. So good luck with it. Tall Red Easel, he sent a super chat. Thank you so very much. I know you've done that before too, so I really appreciate it. Tim Carper, is a truss rod absolutely necessary while building a mandolin? Well, Tim, on all of the mandolins that I have built for myself, actually including this one, I've never put a truss rod in them. I've never felt like I needed one. You know, I may possibly still go ahead and trench this and put a truss rod in it. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. With these laminated necks, and especially with this many laminations in the neck, and really it's a plywood neck is really what it boils down to. Plywood's very strong on that axis like that when you're talking about trying to bend it against the plies like that. That's what makes it really strong. And of course, if I trench it all out, well then a lot of that strength is gone, you know. So I don't know. I don't think you really need it in all cases. I guess if you really used heavy strings all the time and stuff, you might have a problem down the road. One way you can combat that, even without a truss rod, is to put a little bit of back bow in your neck as you're gluing on your fingerboard. And I mean a little bit, not like try to make an arch out of it. You know, I'm talking like just the least little bit. You know, just to put a little bit of tension in it as you're gluing it on. That way, when glue firms up, it's less likely to pull up too. See, and when I say a little bit, I really do mean a little bit. Don't get carried away and put a big arch in it. You know, that would not be a good idea. Harvey Canoe. Boy, you guys just came through, didn't you, on the questions? Harvey Kunnick? Probably Kunnick. Is it possible to inlay on a guitar top after it has been finished? Well, yeah, sure, anything's possible. Yeah, it depends on the kind of finish, because it depends on how much more extra work you're going to end up doing, because if it chips really bad, you know, and when you start cutting and, you know, cutting the wood out to inlay and all that, the finish could really chip really badly. So, but yes, you can definitely do it. Trying to remember a case where I've done stuff like that, but I've done stuff like that, so I know it can be done. But you may be in for some work, especially if you want to try to match the finish and all that. Alan Mulgrew. Hey Jerry, is it if you had the choice of any wood to build a mandolin from, what would you go for? Also, I am loving the vlog videos. Well, Alan, I guess I did. I don't mean to sound smug or like have a stupid answer here, but that's kind of what I did. Since I was a kid, I always wanted a quilted maple mandolin, and I'm not kidding. Ever since I was a kid, I saw my uncle's quilted maple mandolin. It was a Gibson. I thought it was the most beautiful mandolin I ever saw. And yet it didn't play worth a hoot. It was terrible. That was back in the Gibson's early 70s, when they just kind of on quality. And but it was a beautiful mandolin, and so really my choice was to use this. That's why I'm building it this way. So I hope that doesn't sound like too much of a cop-out, but that's the truth of it. But if I guess if I wanted to experiment or something, I'd probably pick some exotic wood and build the back and sides out of an exotic wood. I mean, Padauk would be a good choice, because I think it would really, really pop, you know. But there's a lot of other, it's endless choices. I mean, like endless choices. You can't even imagine how many different kinds of wood are out there that you probably have never even heard of. And if you're not into this, you know what I'm saying. Those of you that are into this, you already know that there's an endless choice. Anyway, so I hope that's not so much of a cop-out, but that's the truth. Gary Boer. Hello, Gary. Have you ever used Rubner mandolin tuning machines? No, I don't even think I've heard of them. Thoughts. Bought a set. I'm really impressed with them. Not as costly as Waverly's. No, I don't think I've ever heard of them. Rubner? Yeah. Sounds interesting. I'll have to look into it. Thanks, Gary. Michael 2X. How durable are the super glue repairs like the ones on the base? Well, Michael, do I think they're as good as Titebond would have been if I could have used Titebond? No, I do not think so. Do I think they're strong enough? I kind of think they're strong enough. But that's the reason I want to Titebond in all the cleats. And I am tempted, because of such a large area and because of so many breaks, to accept the mesh idea and possibly just coat the inside with a mesh and a glue. And I'm tempted to do that. I really am, because it's so many. And I'm just going to think about that for a day or two here and make up my mind, because I might do that. You just never know. So no, I think super glue is okay. I try not to use it if I don't have to. If I have to use it, I will use it. And really, on that base repair, I don't think there was too many options. I mean, you could have done it a different way, I'm sure, but it would have just been a real hassle. So that's why I did what I did. Clyde Lewis. Hi, Jerry. Have you ever put a truss rod in an older guitar that was built without one? Yes, I have. But needed a new one. Yeah. Yes, I have, Clyde. It's not that terribly hard. I mean, your hardest part of that, for the most part, from my perspective, the hardest part of that is getting the fretboard off. Once you get the fretboard off, now again, I do so many things by freehand that would freak other people out, and that's not a brag. It's just kind of what I do, and so I would just take a router and just run right down through there and make a trench freehand. I would draw pencil lines, of course, and I'd stay within my pencil lines, and I would route it out. Now, you could make some fancy, crazy jig to run down through there to keep your router straight, and if you're not good with a router, I would advise that. I really would. But that's how I've done it in the past, is I just, and when I say router, I'm sure I've done it with a big router, but I probably would prefer to do it with my Dremel router. My Dremel router, again, is one of the more powerful Dremels, so it's powerful enough to do that. You might have to do it with 4 or 5 passes, don't get me wrong, but it's powerful enough to do that. The reason I would say that is because it's so small, it's easy to control very easily. Now, if you had a trim router or something like that you would want to use, I would recommend a small router rather than a big router, but you could use a big router to do it. Yes, so I have done it. Okay, let's see here. And again, it scrolled on me. Okay, Francis, I can't think. Yeah, Francis McKinnis said, thank you. I guess I answered his other question. He says, it came awful close to going into the fire. I will try it. Got nothing to lose. Yeah, I agree. I would probably do that. I guess the other thing you could do, Francis, I mean, I don't know. I'll throw this out there because, anything's possible. And that would be if you wanted to widen that neck on that mandolin. I mean, who's to say you couldn't just flatten off what you got, glue some parts on there and recarve it? You probably wouldn't even hardly notice it later anyway if you do it right. So you could do that too. That's another option. Philip Chan. Okay, no, the next question. Yeah, Philip Chan. Any more vlog from Australian Kim coming? Yeah, well, that was just part 1. My guess, and we have to guess on these things because we don't know till we get them done. But my guess is there'll probably be 3 videos on Kim because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of content there on Kim Warner when he was here, because he was here for like 3 days. And we filmed a lot, so my guess is it'll probably be at least 3 videos. May only be 2, might be 4. I don't know. So we don't know until we know. But yeah, there'll be more coming on Kim. Yeah, he is an amazing musician. Yeah, just amazing. You heard me say that he's a 10, I'm a 2, and I'm not just saying that for video effect or trying to go wow, nothing like that. I'm just trying to be real about it. I'm a decent mandolin player, but I'm only a decent mandolin player. I'm not like these guys that are really high end. Like, examples would be Sierra Hull, oh, I can't remember names. You know, Sam Bush, of course, and just all kinds of those kinds of upper end mandolin players. They are way up, heads and tails above me. Can I play everything they can play? Yeah, I just don't play it as well. You know, that's just the bottom line. I mean, I can play anything they can play pretty much. And I say that because there's things Kim played that I know I couldn't play. I mean, he was playing everything. He was just, you know, most of it was because I'm not into that kind of music. I mean, he was playing stuff like Irish music, and he was playing, I don't know, I would, for lack of a better term, I'd call it classical music, you know, something like that. I mean, I'm not into that. I don't know anything about that. I probably couldn't play those things. But your typical bluegrass and country and things that he was playing, yeah, I can play most anything he played. It's just that he plays it so much better, so much more finesse, so much better control, so much better tone. You know, just on and on. It puts more notes in it and more clarity of notes and things like that. You know, I'm getting picky. I realize that. Can I play what he plays? Yes, but he does it way better, way better. And I'm just being realistic about it. I'm not looking for you guys to go, oh, Jerry, you do just fine. That's not my point in telling you this. It's just I'm being a realist. And that's, you know, I see it for what it is. And yeah, like those kind of guys, Adam Steffi is another real good example. I mean, like, I might get in the same building, but I'm nowhere in the same room. Okay, Flinton Gilligan. Jerry, are you coming to Scotland? I don't think we're going to do that again, Fenton. Fenton Gilligan. I don't really want to say too much about that. I would love to. Don't get me wrong. I want to really badly. There was just a whole lot of hassles with that, and I probably just I'm gonna pass. And I'm past my prime on that stuff anyway. John C. and then he says, Colin, don't forget. I don't know what that means. I don't think. Alan Mulgrew, rather than use a mesh inside the base, how about a thin wood veneer? Yeah, I thought of that too, Alan. I really have. The problem with veneer is that it's actually much more difficult, and the reason that it's more difficult is you need to really, really, really clamp veneer. I mean, like beyond your imagination. Otherwise, you have air pockets in it like crazy. Trust me. You can think it's matched even if you put two flat pieces together and clamp it in a place or two. I guarantee you've got things that aren't meshed well. Veneer is very difficult. I thought about it, and I was thinking about maybe using sort of like, instead of total veneer, maybe like veneer strips or something like that. Because you can clamp strips a little better, but the problem is there's really no way to clamp it. That's my problem. So I probably, if I don't do the cleats, I'll probably do, a mesh if one of those two. I really think those are my two best options, but I don't know. Maybe you got a different idea with the veneer than I have, but my experience with veneer, about the only way to glue veneer is either have a super, super, super good clamping system, or to use the vacuum pressings bag like I use. That works great for veneer. I mean, like, there's nothing better than that vacuum bag for veneer. And unfortunately, I don't think there's any way to do that on the inside of a base. I wish I could, because I sure would. Lon, as bad as the breaks were in the base, would combination of both mesh and cleats? Yeah, possibly. I think one or the other would be sufficient, though. Okay, little J1 is the username. I have a old Martin that needs a neck reset, and my local luthier said he drills through the heel cap instead of the fret to put the steam in. Is this normal? Well, I've never seen it done that way. Yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't think that would be the way to do it. But yeah, I don't want to knock somebody else or their method, but because like I've always said, there's a million ways to do everything. It don't sound right now. I mean, I'd like to see what he does, and I might shake my head and go, ooh, I don't think I'd do that. But right off the top of my head, I don't think that sounds good. Maybe somebody else has an opinion on it, or maybe they've seen it done, but I haven't, I don't think. Bruce Ducker, I wonder how Kim would compare to Sierra. He plays similar. I'll just say it this way. He plays good enough to play with anybody, and I mean that sincerely. He really does. And when I said he's kind of like Chris Thiele, he kind of is. Chris Thiele is about as far on the top of the scale as you can get. Personally, I'm not a Chris Thiele fan. I don't want to make that sound bad. I'm just not, because he's so far out above and ahead of me that I can't even really understand what he's doing half the time. That's why I'm not so much of a fan of Chris Thiele. I mean, he's incredible and then some. Kim Warner he could play with Chris Thiele, and you would not think he was slacking. I guarantee you. And I'm not just saying that. Let's see here. I'm trying to find where I'm at again. Yeah, by the way, when you ask about Kim playing with Sierra, if you know the history of Sierra, one of her idols when she was learning to play was the guy I mentioned a minute ago, and I can't think of his name again now, Adam Steffi. And I did see Kim play with Adam Steffi in a video. So, I mean, that'll give you some idea right there that he can play with Adam Steffi no problem. And Adam Steffi is really good also. Tony Lopez, can you please select me, see what the access panel on the base looks like? Can you please let me, that's what it is, that the word got jammed together. See what the access panel on the base looks like. Yeah, I'm going to try that here. It's, you get a lot of room there. I can't tell what I can see, what you can't see. So there's plenty of room to get in there, That part's good. Maybe you can see a little hole there. Is that a hole I'm seeing through there? It looks kind of like it, pointed back that way. So looks like there's daylight. Yeah, I'm sure that's coming out of this crack right here. Like I mentioned, that one didn't seem to mesh up quite as well. But we'll just have to fix it as we go, It's not perfect by any stretch. But when you get one that badly broken, it's about as perfect as it's going to get, I think. I'm not saying somebody else couldn't have done it better. They probably could have, but that's as good as I can do it. Charlie Bryson, I think. Thanks, Jerry. Got me hooked on Itchy Boots. Yeah, Itchy Boots, by the way, just this last week, that girl's brave, man. She went down in one of those deep mines, and I say deep, it's 30 feet deep or something roughly. And, it's only just a little bigger than your body, and they're dropping her down on a rope going down in this dirt hole. It just looks like a death trap to me. And the girl's brave now. And then she slid down that volcano on a board, and I mean, holy mackerel! And you know, the difference between her doing that and me doing that is this. And I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly how it would go down. She's sliding down there, laughing and giggling the whole way. I'd be going down through there and enjoying it, and then all of a sudden, about halfway down, I'd go, uh-oh, you know, and then there'd be a cliff that would drop off about 50 feet. That's the difference, because you don't know, she had no clue where she was going down that hill, and that would be the difference between her and me. When I'd get about halfway down there, I'd be going at top speed, and then there'd be a 50-foot cliff, you know. She's a brave gal, I'll just say that. Okay, we're running out of time here now, and we do have a lot of questions all of a sudden, so let me try to answer a couple more, and then we're going to call this off. Dickie Adcock, what material would you use for the mesh? Yeah, it'll probably be some sort of a cloth material, and probably not fiberglass. I'm not a big fan of fiberglass. I'm definitely not a big fan of epoxy in an instrument. So I would probably use some sort of a cloth and a glue, and I guarantee you that's very strong when you do it that way. Alan Mulgrew, only way I can think to clamp veneer inside a base would be to inflate a balloon. Yeah, and sorta, but if you put enough pressure to really make the veneer work, you bust your guitar. I guarantee you. Yeah. To really make it work, I mean, like, sort of work is one thing, and really make it work is a different thing. And you'd bust your guitar, I guarantee you. Bust it wide open. JJ Rosa Stray, is that spelled Adam Steffy? And I think I think you have the right spelling there. I think it is Steffey. Yeah, Adam Steffy, if you don't know who he is, you need to look him up. He's a really good mandolin player. He was the mandolin player, if you remember when Allison Krauss and Union Station kind of just started getting big, Adam was their mandolin player for the longest time. And the most tasteful sound that you would ever want to hear on a mandolin. I mean, just the most tasteful notes that he played. Just really good mandolin player. Just super good. I mean, he really is. I've met him once, I think, and yeah, it was one time I think I met him, and very nice fella too, seems to be. That's about it, looks like. I don't see another question. It looks like there might be one more here. I found this. David Bennett here, he didn't actually put questions in front, but he's got a question at the end there. It says, having owned two 800 series Taylors from the early days of Bob's innovative techniques, I found his guitars way too delicate to stand up to road work. Is that true of that bass? Well, David, I don't honestly know. I don't have a lot. I don't have a lot of acoustic bass experience. That's just the truth of it. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it or blow any smoke at anybody. So I don't have a lot of bases of comparison. This one looks like it's made fairly stoutly. Whatever the damage was on it, I would say was fairly significant, you know, because it looks like it, to me, you know, and I'm just basing it on what I have to base it on, and that is just pure experience, but very little experience on a bass, but based on that, I would say it does look like it's made pretty well, and that it should hold up, I would think. But then again, it's in that condition, so I don't know for sure. Okay, guys, well, thank you so much for showing up today. Looks like there's 171 of you out there right at the moment. And I'm going to call it quits right here. And I hope you'll join me next Friday, same time, same place. I will make an effort to get another vlog out yet today, but I'm not going to guarantee that part. It may be Monday. So thank you so much. Take care.